Now, let's talk about what we did last night, because last night on the Independent Republican, Mike Graham, we were looking at accusations the Metropolitan Police are doing very little at the ongoing pro-Palestine marches. Now, ministers have warned these demonstrations are putting an unsustainable burden on the police, already wasting more than 26,000 shifts and costing the taxpayer at least £25 million so far. So, surely, it's got to be something to be intervened, isn't it? We can't carry on like this. We've got our panel with us in the studio tonight, Special Projects Editor at the Spectator Ben Lazarus, journalist and broadcaster Emma Woolf, and barrister and broadcaster Andrew Eborn. But first, let's go to former Detective Chief Inspector Mr. Mike Neville. Mike, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the Independent Republican, Mike Graham. I was on with Jeremy Kyle this morning saying that, you know, I think there's a way that you can get dealing with these protests now, because it seems to me that they're no longer just protests. They are now, you know, incitements to various things. You know, last week we saw the demonstration outside of Westminster. We heard the words that were spoken. People were being urged to rise up, urged to sort of occupy offices, urged to put the parliamentary estate on lockdown. You know, this is no longer just a simple protest. Surely it's more than that.
Absolutely, Mike. I fully agree. And there is laws in place where if a demonstration has got a significant impact on the community, then it can be banned or directed to be somewhere else. And we can see the significant impact this would have on the Jewish community. And we know that the police can apply to the Home Secretary to have marches banned, because a survey done of the 12 marches that were banned, of course, 10 of them were extreme right wing, that sort of the English Defence League, that sort of stuff. So we know if the police have got this, they want to, they can take action. And of course, they could set some sort of agenda around this, right? You can do it once a month, you can do it in Hyde Park, and you can do it between X and Y times. Yeah. Because what's happening at the moment is, I think they're saying that 4,000 shifts have been lost. So that's 4,000 times of an officer, 8 hours, where they should be patrolling a street in Clapham or Brixton or Tottenham or Thamesmead, wherever it is, stopping burglars, robbers, rapists and the like. But these people are taken away to deal with these other things. And that's just the visible side. So that but you've also got senior officers who, rather than planning operations to reduce theft and burglary, the things that impact on us all, they're focusing on these marches. And of course, when you've got, there's lots of videos they've got to watch, so detectives have got to scour through CCTV to see what anti-Semitic or other awful and illegal phrases are uttered, rather than watching footage of somebody committing a robbery, a burglary, again, those everyday offences that the police should be dealing with.
Well, it seems to me that
I would argue that allowing these marches every week is a big problem.
Yeah, it really is. And it seems to me they've got a very large operation going on at Scotland Yard, proving that things that everyone else thinks are illegal actually aren't really illegal, like firing up from the river to the sea onto Big Ben, which apparently, if you say it out loud, can be illegal. But if you project it onto a building, which happens to be the government building, it's not illegal.
Well, it's ridiculous, Mike. What happens here is we see it time and time with the police, particularly with left-wing causes, is that they tend to look at the law and interpret what the courts may or may not do. But that's not the police's job.
No.
The police's job is to make arrests if they have reasonable grounds to believe somebody's committing an offence. So you arrest these people, take away their projector, and then the courts can make a decision. But what tends to happen is that if you're a left-wing or fashionable cause, you get a lot more slack than if you're the EDL, Millwall fans, anti-vaxxers, or an unfashionable cause. And that's really bad, because what it does is it ebbs away at the trust and confidence in the police, who should be impartial.
Yeah, absolutely right. Mike, thanks very much indeed for your guidance on that one. Let's get the panel involved here with this one. Ben, I mean, it seems to me that if you're the police, what you do when you see somebody projecting that onto the House of Commons is you first confiscate the projector and then you drop it on the ground and accidentally kick it so that it doesn't work anymore, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, you know, I remember the good old days of the old Special Patrol Group when they used to go wading into various crowds and just crack a few heads.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any arrest at all. I mean,
no.
we've spoken about Big Ben, but whilst the gentleman was speaking, there was clips from Tower Bridge,
yes.
and they shut that down on Saturday.
Which was completely unannounced. They had no permission to do that, right?
And in that clip, you see a lot of faces, you see car number plates.
Yeah.
And yet there's been nothing in the last couple of days about anyone being arrested from that incident.
No. Well, you might well say, Emma, that they're saying it's costing 25 million, and I'm sure that's true. But, I mean, I'm not sure what the police are doing for the 25 million. They don't seem to be doing much police work.
Exactly. What are they doing for that money? There's the money, there's the obviously the police, the resources, the time, but also, I think your detective there made the point, the amount of everyday crime that is already, even before all this started on October the 7th and the Palestinian marches, that is already not being investigated. The kind of confidence in the police is at an all-time low. We don't even bother reporting things like burglaries or domestic abuse, probably, rape, street violence, knife crime, all of the things. Shoplifting is completely unpunished. There is so much. And I actually think that now we need to start looking at whether you need a separate police force for these public events. Huge, Just Stop Oil, another one. Huge public events. If they're going to continue being allowed every Saturday, every weekend, we can't go on like this. The police actually need to get back to what their core function is meant to be, which is what? Keeping our streets safe, keeping us safe in our homes, because they're certainly not doing that.
And keeping our streets safe includes, presumably, keeping London Bridge, Tower Bridge, and all the other bridges open.
Hundreds of
for
flares
people
being set up. And actually, it is an offence, I think, to project onto a public building.
I'm told that it is. I read this earlier on over the weekend, that, you know, people have done it in the past for sort of stunts, but it is technically illegal to do, and you can stop people from doing it. If you know who's doing it, you can find them. And it seems to me as well that these are no longer simply protests. They're not simply demonstrations.
They are intimidation.
They are deliberate intimidation.
Yes.
They are dangerous for people, not for perhaps for all people, but for a lot of people. And they are very expensive. And surely the police must now do something.
Oh, absolutely. And they say it's the biggest period of sustained pressure on the Met since the Olympics 2012. If you look at the cost, you talked about 25 million. I think it's close to 30 million, according to some reports. What happened, actually, in 2019, the police were able to get some money back from football clubs, for example, about 5.5 million. I think we should look at that. So whilst there's a right for everybody to protest, there's a cost element to this.
Right. Who are you going to bill, though?
Well, maybe some of the organisers.
Send a bill to Hamas in Qatar?
Well, some of the organisers and so on.
They've got plenty of money.
If they've got some sort of responsibility. But the other thing is we've got laws in place, as we've always said on this show. There are laws in place. They're just not being enforced, and that's wrong.
It is totally wrong. And, you know, at some point, I mean, I've been saying this really since last October, you know, when Suella Braverman was asking for the police to actually do something and ask for the marches to be stopped, which they then wouldn't do.
This comes back to kind of the Lee Anderson comment. What is the Mayor of London doing about this? He is in overall control of the Met Police. Maybe not operationally, but could he not do something?
I think he could say to them...
say, this is not acceptable any longer in our capital city.
I mean, one of the things that people have suggested is to say that they will need to give more notice before they do something. But, of course, they didn't give any notice for Tower Bridge. And it seems... I mean, I was just last week driving into work one evening, and there was a big crowd of people outside Southwark Council just demonstrating with waving Palestinian flags. Don't even know why. You know, it's just there's sort of flash mobs now.
If any of us tried to shut down Tower Bridge, we would be arrested.
Absolutely.
Just without question.
But the police seem to be scared to enforce the law, and that's the problem.
On one side.
That's the problem.
Not on both sides.
No, that is the problem. It's unfair and it's not sustainable. Definitely not sustainable.